All right.
Welcome to On the Line. I'm Jenny Robb, and I'm so thrilled to have again with us Frank Giampaolo. He is an international award-winning coach and best-selling author, among many other wonderful things. And we are going through his book, The Psychology of Tennis Parenting. And we are going to dive into chapter 1. So, Frank, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the time.
No, thanks so much. I got to say, you look spectacular with the hair back and the
Oh, thank you.
style. Man, I'd have to comb my hair next time.
Oh my goodness. Well, I was excited for our talk today as I was looking through and reading the chapter. And so chapter 1 is nurturing happiness. And
Mm.
that's kind of a you had me at hello phrase for me. So how did you come upon the idea to have nurturing happiness be chapter 1?
Well, just from being on the tournament trail so long with the athletes and the parents that often they feel they have to win the event to be happy.
Right.
And and all the parents out there know, but if it's a 64 draw event, one goes home the winner, 63 goes home losing a match or two. And usually the athlete or the parents are very upset and they're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't even think that winning a match creates really long lasting happiness. It's very temporary.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we see it with players. They feel almost like deflated, even though they won the tournament, they won the match, but they still say things like, yeah, but my backhand was off.
Right. So I love that you start out and the quote is winning isn't the way to happiness. Happiness is the way to winning. And I just kind of stopped and thought about that for a moment and getting into one of your points following that, like you were just saying, if you're waiting to win to be happy, then like you say a little bit later on, that's a really bad habit to get into. And so with that idea of happiness is the way to winning is just that switch of mindset of how you're approaching matches, practices, every little thing, the routines, the stuff you need to do at home, what you got to do in the gym, approaching all of those things with the idea of happiness versus waiting to be happy is a pretty big deal.
It is. It's very weighty. I think so too, and I think it does maybe require a little bit of deep thinking. And some of the people that are more pessimistic might be like, "Oh, that's stupid." But once you kind of lean into it a little bit and think about it some, even when athletes maybe bump into a higher level of achievement, like maybe a UTR 8 to a UTR 9. They assume they're going to be happy when I'm a 10-year UTR, then I'm going to be happy.
Right.
But the problem is you're a 10 and then all of a sudden by the very next day you want to be an 11. Yep. Right?
Yeah.
And so it keeps moving. It's like the goalpost keeps moving.
Yes.
If you wait to be happy. So and that's a horrible way to have a childhood, and it's a horrible way to raise parents, in my opinion, that the idea of the goalpost is always moving, and if you're never happy, that kind of sucks, right?
Right. So I love the idea of you get into teaching happiness, modeling happiness, all under the umbrella of nurturing happiness. And so I think especially with younger athletes, the energy that the parent brings, the energy that the coach brings, obviously is going to have an influence on that player. And so it's so important for the coach and the parent to be on the same page of how they're nurturing the player. And just the whole idea of feeding off of that energy is so important.
Yeah, I agree. Look, when we even go back to time management and look at things like there's 168 hours available in every week, right? That 24 hours a day times 7. Even a high performance player, they're with the coach 20, they're with the parents, obviously 148, right? Um, but I think it's meaningful that we have to find team members that have the same mindset.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think that's big. I think that's important. And with the old school drill sergeant, assembly line, go do push-ups, that whole mentality, that's dead and gone. That's not probably coming back, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea about, us getting on board and the parents getting on board, and but not just the parents realizing that they have to coach happiness, but the kids have to realize too that they're responsible for their own happiness. And I think it's meaningful too with kids, and they have to realize that it's a choice,
Yes.
like gratitude, right?
Yes.
Or it's a choice. Attitude, the attitude you choose to get up in the morning with, it's a choice. It's not just a God-given talent that some people are happy.
Right, right. I love, yes, choice. That is huge.
Choice.
And I think taking that into a player going out to play a match and thinking, oh, I got in a fight with a friend at school, or I made a bad grade on a test, or I have something else I'm totally worried about, or oh, who knows what the outside thing could be. And if you can flip the switch to when I walk through the gate onto the court, all that has to fade away. This is an opportunity to choose to focus on the task at hand, and hopefully it's enjoyable if you enjoy competing and playing, and it can be a gift to be able to set aside whatever is going on in your life. Because if you're waiting to play your best when you're having the best day of your life, you're going to be waiting a while.
Man, that's right on the money. It just leads me to think too that it's meaningful that parents choose their battles with their kids, and maybe they don't choose a battle on the way to a tennis lesson, because that's going to destroy the mindset of the lesson.
Right.
And not only does the child suffer, but the parent, wastes all their money on the lesson they're paying for.
Right.
That's big. But teaching happiness, I think, is super meaningful. And I've been privileged enough to work with some of the players on the men's Harvard team, and one of their professors, he teaches the art of happiness at Harvard, and that's the most popular class year after year, was how to get these kids that are actually, obviously high performance intellects. And Dr. Ben Shahar would teach how to be happy.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a beautiful thing. And I think that, we can bring it onto the tennis court a little bit more often. So,
I love how you introduced the idea of a gratitude journal.
oh yeah.
I'm a big fan of journaling in general, and to start your day thinking of, you said, maybe it's you're grateful for some relationships that you have, whether it's parents, friend, other family member, whoever it might be, or just being able to, I think the first one you mentioned was that your body is, that you can play this game.
Yes.
And so, that one has resonated with me, especially lately too, with my surgery behind me and all, but being able to go out and do this great, beautiful sport is something that you might take for granted until all of a sudden you are injured or you are sick or whatever the case may be, that it is, it's a privilege to be able to do this.
It sure does. It rewires how we think, because the science is it releases this like serotonin and dopamine into the bloodstream, and that's responsible for these positive emotions. And gratitude actually can rewire your day a little bit. You can start the day better, and there's a lot of science that says gratitude improves like your overall health and your physical, mental, emotional well-being, and problem solving, and dealing with adversity, and building stronger relationships. And
absolutely,
man, it goes on and on. And starting the day just being appreciative. It's not easy though in today's society. It's, if you watch any kind of news on TV, it's always the problem is, the problem is, the problem is. And, you hear a lot of doom and gloom.
That's so true. So to be able to have the mindset to already set your attitude in the direction of positive effects. And so if you're already going to start your day, and technology is so great, I mean, you could put it in your notes app on your phone or leave yourself a little voice note or something. I had a coach growing up that I was too hard. He thought I was too hard on myself, and I was. And so we had this thing, what to say when you talk to yourself. And he would want me to come up with like a mantra or, like you got this or something like I am confident today because I have prepared and I've put in the work. And just, at first it might seem kind of silly or you might feel kind of funny, but I mean, it changed, like you said, it like rewired my thinking going into practice and competition to go, okay, I am prepared. I don't have to be scared. I don't have to panic. I am ready. And so to like going back to nurturing happiness and nurturing these kinds of outlooks, you can then begin to have that happiness because you're approaching it with that happy outlook versus, it's a tough day. I don't feel 100%. My mom got mad at me. My sister stole my sweater, or, whatever it is, it'd be very easy to pick apart the things that aren't going your way. And so to, rewire, as you said, or train your mind towards that positive is a huge deal, even beyond just the tennis court, but again, tennis and those kind of character traits, just go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's I guess it is part of the psychology of being a tennis parent or any kind of athletic parent, or maybe even just any parent at all that, we know that we're modeling, and whatever we do, they're going to probably copy.
That's right.
And they're probably not going to do what we say to do anyway.
Right.
but they're paying attention though. I mean, they really are. And I think that some of the topics you're talking about with inner dialogue and self-coaching and positive affirmations are right on the money, but it's difficult for kids to do that at first because they're like, oh man, this is silly. This is like foo-foo hippie stuff, hippy dippy. But I think it's meaningful that the more you can do that inner dialogue and look for solutions versus the problems. We've all had it. When we used to play, we used to have second serves, right? And we used to say, dear God, I'll go to church every Sunday for a month if I get this serve in.
Right.
But that's probably not the right thing to do. I mean,
Well, I mean, all of these things too, I've been kind of talking about the player aspect, but I think it's every bit as important for the coach and the parent to, like we said a minute ago, be on the same page with this. And so maybe that parent is not just innately doing these things. And so the journey for them gets better as well if instead of, I'm running late to get you to practice and no, and you've got a big test tomorrow, or oh my gosh, you missed another backhand. And so I think being able to kind of clear out the space surrounding the parent and the coach equally as much as the player, and then you are in a better headspace.
And that's big headspace, isn't it? My old mentor, Vic Braden, used to always say, laugh and win. And that was one of his mantras. Like he had it on the t-shirts, laugh and win. Right.
Yeah.
And
I had one of those. I actually met Vic
Braden
years ago. He came to Birmingham.
Okay.
I was just out of college and teaching at a a YMCA here in town, and he came in and did like a weekend workshop, and it was just the coolest thing. But anyway, yes, so I had one of those shirts. I
Yeah.
don't have it, but I wish I did.
Yeah. So it's not new, right? I think all the best teachers are teaching that. And sometimes though, parents even have a little bit of a different belief system. Like, well, I've seen parents on the court, they yell at their kids. They go, "Stop smiling, don't laugh. This is
Right.
serious." And I
Right.
mean, they're just going to quit at a faster rate, right? If you,
There, I can't remember, it's been a few years back, but Canada, and I think it was hockey. I think it was a national hockey thing, but they produced some commercials, and it would be the one that comes to mind is there's a parent, so a father is playing golf and he's about to putt, and there's the young son, and the son is kind of barking orders at the dad, and he's like,
oh, great.
focus, get your head in this, you got to make this putt. He's saying all these things, and it did such a good job of
Great.
flipping around those roles, and I think that's why it made such an impression on me, that I was like, that's brilliant. How funny is that?
Yeah.
But for the parents to cut themselves some slack too, and there are plenty of coaches that can get so wrapped up in it as well. And so I think that to be able to approach things in a happy and peaceful way, and you're not taking yourself too seriously. So I love that, like you said, laugh and win. It's like you have to be
Yeah.
able to laugh a little bit because you have to ease the tension. I mean, how often does it happen that players will have a really tough first set, and then whoever wins the first set, and then you sit down and you get up and you've kind of had a moment to go, and then the next thing you know, it's love 3 in the second set, and it's like, what happened? Well, the level of focus wasn't at the same place. And so are you going to look at that as a negative thing and be like, you've got to focus out there? Or are you going to go, okay, that was a hard set, let's breathe, and we're going to go right back into it? Because you have to have a break in that focus. I mean, nobody that I know can be at that top level of focus for 2-3 hours or something. I mean, there has to be a little break.
Yeah, for sure.
Laughter is a good thing.
Yeah, laughter is great. It really diffuses, and and we've seen it, but players that are stressed and feel the pressure, their muscles tighten, right? And their breathing gets shallow, and their cognitive processing speed is shut down. And sometimes they even call it, well, people that do like more neuroscience, the amygdala hijack. It's like an emotional hijack.
I've heard that phrase. Yeah.
And it's really interesting. But anyway, it's all good stuff. And to me, what I'm secretly trying to do with some of these books, especially the ones aimed at tennis parents, it's secretly aimed for the tennis coaches. But I can't approach a coach, and most of them have very big egos, right? We all know that as coaches. I guess we all do. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to say, okay, coaches, you probably should learn this stuff. But if the book says the tennis parent,
then it's safe.
Then it's safe. Territory. Yeah. And then they can borrow whatever they want. And then it does help the whole, community of coaches around the world. And to me, that's important. So.
Oh, it's so important. I mean, I think it is good for coaches and parents and players, just in general, the population, to have a little time of reflection. So as a coach, if you read this and you're maybe they saw you speak and they got to know you, and then they're like, this is one of the things I want to take back to my club or my player or whoever, and maybe on the airplane or the drive or whatever it may be, they have a little time to reflect on themselves as they're going to then help their player and the parent. And so it's pretty brilliant, actually, that it's kind of like you go in through the back door, like
the back door. It is, isn't it? It's a backdoor issue. And
an indirect kind of soft, nice little nudge of, hey, it's okay
Yeah.
to kind of reflect on your approach sometimes as well.
Yeah. And I mean, we all do that. Don't, I mean, all the people like you or myself. And I think the best coaches are really growth minded. They have this growth mindset and they know they can't keep adding to their, their players' wisdom if they don't keep adding to their own wisdom.
Right. That's such a good statement. That is,
But
thank you for that.
players, I mean, parents too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have to cut them some slack because there's no real, I don't know, there's no real guidebooks for being great tennis parents out there. I'm trying to put these together before I retire, but it's something that I think I'm very grateful for you that we're able to talk about it. So,
Oh, me too. I'm grateful for you. But this is, I'm gonna read this in my little notes here, but it says psychologists believe that rehearsing gratitude helps rewire how we think, feel, and process the world around us. And so just to kind of bring all of that together, I think that is such a good statement. That rehearsal, and you talked about dress rehearsal last time that we talked, and so it's such an important idea that you approach practice. A player approaches practice with that mindset of enjoying improving. That was another thing that I particularly liked from this first chapter, was the idea of finding happiness and improvement. And so again, instead of being outcome related, it's not the outcome, it's the other stuff.
Yeah, right on. That's so meaningful, isn't it? That
it is.
I think that brings us back to the idea that as the athletes play matches, we want them to write down maybe three things they thought they did pretty well, right? And three things maybe they think they can improve. They have to then make notes on their phone, text it to the coach. So then the next week it's a customized developmental plan. And I like the idea that the parents do it as well. Instead of the parents barking at the kids on the way home, the laundry list of things the kid did wrong, maybe.
Right.
It's not the time, and it's not the parents' place to do that. Just send it to the coach and have the coach do that. That would be something important, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And this other idea that I have kind of a star next to over here in my notes is heart-based parenting. And again, that's another one of those phrases that really spoke to me. So you said it, find the correct pathway into the athlete's brain design. And, that goes into personality. And so I love that part in this whole idea of the nurturing of happiness in the player, and that happiness is the way to winning instead of the outcome. So, I love that, though. Heart-based parenting. Tell us a little bit, how did you come up with that?
Well, I like the idea of us as coaches or parents believing that we have to it's our responsibility to get into their world. It's not their responsibility as a 10-year-old to get into the way we think, our personality profile, the way we perceive the world. Also, as coaches, the way we used to play the game or even see the game might not be the way that the child is wired.
Right.
Right. We might be incredibly patient individuals, and they might be totally impatient.
Right.
And that would dictate the style and the length of point and that type of thing. And so we have to get into their world. We figure out how they tick. And but all too often it's the other way around. We're like, do it my way, do it because I said so.
Right.
And all we're really saying is do it the same way that we were taught 20 years ago.
Yeah. And that just is detrimental to everybody involved. It just, unfortunately, it is. And so I have here, when you switch from rule-based parenting, like do it my way, to heart-based parenting, let's figure this out together, they'll improve much faster. Your relationship with your athlete will change for the better. And you mentioned one of your other books, The Soft Science of Tennis, which I also have, which is fantastic. So I just love the idea of, instead of do it my way, let's figure this out together. And so, like you were saying, with a growth mindset that's been fostered in the child, and hopefully the parent, and then in the coach as well. We all still need a growth mindset, and then to be open to what may come, and you follow this with, and we already touched on it, but praise effort, not results. And so, I think that is so big. Again, approaching a practice with the idea of enjoying improving. I mean, I worked with a player who was phenomenally talented, but had got to a point where he was happy where he was. And so as long as he could play, and win these matches at this level, that was fine with him. And then if it was like, if he got tested a little bit, he would fall apart. He got comfortable being in that place. And that's that closed-minded mindset versus growth mindset. But yeah, I mean, the effort and the enjoyment of improving, were two things that really hit home with me.
Yeah. Oh, no, great. And I'm so happy that there's a lot of folks are kind of relating to this, and that it hit #1 on Amazon the first week, which was good. Obviously, that was exciting for me, but
yeah, absolutely.
I think more than ever now, parents are getting into this software side of the game. And so that kind of, as a review, the hardware might be your athlete's strokes and athleticism, right? But software is the mental and emotional skills. And this ties into that a little bit more.
I think, one of our mutual friends and industry leaders, Craig O'Shaughnessy, he talks about, that there's two matches, there's, and it's what we're talking about exactly, but it's, there's what's going on in between points and in your mind. And then there's what's physically happening as you're in that moment of that point where you're choosing what shot to hit or trying to get to the ball, or, whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's like the idea that there's two matches going on. I had never heard that before. One of the and I was like, that's interesting.
No, it's good. It's meaningful, isn't it? It takes you way back to, this is way before you were born, but Tim Galloway had a book called, The Inner Game.
I have that book too. Yeah.
And that book that's the whole concept of that book, that there's the inner battle between self one and self two, and your conscious judgmental editing mind that's barking at you, and the subconscious mind that kind of can flow. And
that's right.
Those are interesting to me too. I'm glad you like
that. I love that. Yeah. Is that, I think in that book, there's a part towards coaching where it's kind of like, stop talking so much. Don't,
yes.
Is that the same book? I feel like it is, but it's like, just take a step back. You don't have to, so many new coaches want to say 10,000 things during the whole entire hour. And it's like, just take it easy. Yeah.
Yeah. With that in mind, I think it's really meaningful for coaches that may be listening, or parents that may go out to the court and hit balls with their children, or even parents that may talk about tennis. I think it's meaningful to secretly take your phone, hit the recording app, and record. If you're a coach, record your lesson and listen to it on the way home. If you're a parent, record your conversations and listen to them later, because you'll be surprised. Like, you think you're being positive, and it's amazing. Don't do this, don't do that. You're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. And going back to what you mentioned, the beginning coaches don't stop talking.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like I need to say so many. I want to, maybe somewhere, it's like the analogy of throwing spaghetti against the walls and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Throw everything out there and see what sticks.
Yeah. But it's neat. It's because they care and they really want to give people their money's worth. I get that. So yeah, that's all. I think that's all meaningful stuff.
Absolutely. No, I just, I know we're on a time schedule. I could sit here and we could just talk all day. But just going back to some of the main ideas here, again, the idea of happiness as a state of being, and that is something to be trained in all of us in all the roles, and the habit of happiness, that
Yes.
you have to be consistent for it to work. Again, coming back to gratitude as your main force with this,
Yeah.
is just, it's just so important. And I'm so glad that we can share this space to talk about it and have it out there for other coaches and parents and
Yeah.
players.
Yeah.
And so thank you for writing this and wanting to share it with all of us, because it
Yeah.
helps
I
everybody.
appreciate you. And look, I think it's important if any parents or coaches want information. I know you feel the same way, but they can email, they can call, and we're more than happy to help, because I'm at that, the stage in the career now where I enjoy the idea of mentoring younger coaches and helping parents that are struggling, because it's a tough road sometimes,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I am grateful that you're putting this information out there and you're spending the time to not only think about it and help your athletes, but by
Yeah.
doing that, it's like the ripple effect, right? Like hopefully
Yeah.
the more we do this, the better experience that the whole team can have, the player and the parent and the coach. And so,
Yeah. Right on.
hoping for that positive experience. And so chapter 1,
Chapter 1 in the
excellent,
books.
in the books.
Jenny,
Fantastic.
thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We will talk again soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.